Hey everyone, this is David Brown with the migration update for March 3rd, 2025 from the Derby Hill Hawkwatch. I had good timing this morning in that as soon as I got out of bed and looked out the window, the International Space Station was going over. You can see it as this bright dot here. It was cold out, but there was a light southerly wind, so I wanted to get out early to do some birding and see if there was anything on the move. Here we have a flock of cedar waxwings, my first for the season. Here we have a woodpecker hanging on a suet cage. This is a red-bellied woodpecker, and you can actually see the red belly on this one. And we know it's a female because the orangish red is only on the back of the head and does not extend all the way across the forehead. Here's a cute sparrow with a spot on the breast and a bicolored bill. You see the top half of the bill is black and the bottom is yellow. This is an American tree sparrow. I always enjoy trying to get flight shots of white-breasted nuthatches. This one wasn't migrating, it was just moving around locally. And here's a white-breasted nuthatch, possibly the same one, flying with a sunflower seed. I did a bit of lake watching, but the winds had blown a lot of ice close to shore, so there weren't very many ducks close enough to see. Here's a duck that gave a nice flyby. This is the appropriately named long-tailed duck. And here's some ducks where the males have a distinctive white circle on the face. These are common golden eyes, and on the left there's a female. Since the winds had a southerly component, I set up at the north lookout. The weather today was more pleasant than the last couple days. The temperature was quite cold in the morning with temperatures in or near the single digits, but eventually it warmed up to close to freezing and there were light southeasterly winds, so it didn't feel all that bad, especially with the sun shining. We had sun for a couple hours in the morning, and then as we got into the late morning, the winds were shifting around to the southwest and a layer of clouds had moved in. Eventually, a lake breeze kicked in the noon hour, and that sent us down to the south lookout. This bird was the first migrating raptor of the day, coming through around 9:15, and it came through nice and low, and it gave a great look, especially with the sun reflecting off of the snow. That really helps to illuminate the underside of birds like this. Looking at the shape of this bird, we see that it's shaped like a flying cross with long wings held out straight. We see a long tail, and we see a head that sticks out quite a bit. Something else to point out, we see that the outer tail feathers on this bird are quite a bit shorter than the central ones. This is a Cooper's hawk, and we know it's an adult because of the orange barring to the underside of the body. There were small groups of red-winged blackbirds trickling throughout the day, but we haven't really got a big push of blackbirds yet. Here's an eastern bluebird that was perched up nicely. And we even had a small flock of robins migrate by, a sign of spring for sure. I saw this duck coming in fast and did my best to grab some photos, and it turned out to be the first hooded merganser of the season. Here we have a large dark raptor with a large head, so we should be thinking eagle, but which eagle is it? Well, we see a pretty large head, and we see a lot of white, especially here in the wing pit area. And whenever you see white in this area, that's a sign of a bald eagle. This is an immature bald eagle. Here we have a hawk that has that classic buteo shape. We see dark patagial bars, we see a dark belly band, and we see a red tail. This is an adult red-tailed hawk. At the same time I was watching that red tail, this adult bald eagle had soared higher and higher and then eventually streamed off, cutting the corner of the lake to continue its migration. And right behind it, we had a second adult bald eagle, so maybe a migrating pair. And not too long after those, I spotted this bird soaring out in front, and then it glided high overhead. If we take a look at this silhouette, we see that this is a large, dark raptor. It doesn't have a really tiny head like we would see on a vulture. It definitely has a feathered head, but it doesn't have that big head that we saw on the bald eagles. Rather, this is the first golden eagle of the season. And I don't see any white in the wings, and just from the overall plumage and time of season, this is likely an adult golden eagle. Here's a black and white woodpecker, and we see a relatively large bill, so this is a hairy woodpecker. And as this bird flew by, I noticed that it doesn't have any tail, and you can see that here. Normally they would have a tail here that they use to brace themselves against trees, but I don't know if this is the one I've seen the past couple days when it had a tail, or if this is a different bird. From the north lookout, I had a total of 33 species. Whenever you have a day with light southerly winds and air temperatures that are quite a bit warmer than the lake temperature, you run the risk of getting a lake breeze. And like I said earlier, we had a lake breeze kick in around 12:15, and I waited a few minutes to make sure it was sticking around, and it was. So we made the move over to the south lookout. And the south lookout wasn't very birdy, but eventually I did have some nice sightings. Here we have the top side of a raptor. And some people might look at this and say, oh, that must be a northern harrier because it has a white rump. Well, actually, that's not the rump of the bird. That's a white base to the tail. And if we take a look at the underside of the bird, we see that it's a light morph rough-legged hawk. Notice the dark squares here in the wings and the dark belly. And then I spotted this bird, which is a similar shape, but it's obviously dark underneath on the body. This is a dark morph rough-legged hawk. We see a dark trailing edge to the wings that indicates that it's an adult. And with the single thick tail band and also being a little bit browner in the upper breast and the wing coverts, this is probably an adult female dark morph rough-legged hawk. And here's a photo of the two rough-legged hawks flying together, and they actually interacted a little bit. The dark morph dove on the light morph, but they didn't seem to be migrating. I think they're just wintering birds that were hanging out over the farm fields. And while I was watching the roughlegs, I spotted another raptor behind them in the distance, and I didn't get very good photos, but if you look at this, we can see that the wings are held in a slight V shape or a slight dihedral, and the back of the neck has a golden color because this was our second golden eagle of the season. And here's another photo of the golden eagle, and from this you can't really tell much, although you get the sense that the head is smaller than the tail. From the south lookout, I had 15 species. Afterwards, I checked out the lake again, and you can see that the ice had kind of broken up and there was more space for ducks. And then I enjoyed a nice Derby Hill sunset. Overall today, I had 38 species. And 7 of those species were new for the season, and those were hooded merganser, golden eagle, Cooper's hawk, pileated woodpecker, cedar waxwing, American goldfinch, and northern flicker, bringing us to a total of 55 species seen so far this season. Taking a look at hawk count for our migrant raptor totals, today we had 3 bald eagles, 1 Cooper's hawk, 2 red-tailed hawks, and 2 golden eagles for a total of 8 migrating raptors. And that more than doubled our season total, bringing us to a total of 14 migrating raptors for the season. Taking a look at the forecast for tomorrow, it's looking cloudy with a high around 46 and light south-southeast winds. So it's a good wind direction. But the fact that it's so light, along with being cloudy, it might take a while for the raptor flight to really pick up as they wait for thermals to develop. And we once again run a risk of getting a lake breeze in the afternoon if those winds stay too light and the temperatures get too warm. So we may end up having to move to the south lookout, but overall it should be a decent day again. Hopefully we'll get some songbird activity in the morning, and I'll probably be out early again, hoping to see some birds on the lake and in the air. So I hope you can come out and join us. For Wednesday, it's looking like rain is likely. It's pretty warm with a high around 52 and good southeast winds, but I think that rain is just going to prevent any migration. And for Thursday, we'll keep an eye on it. The winds again are fairly decent, although quite strong, and it looks like some rain and snow showers. So Thursday might also be a wash, or that might hold back the flight in any case. All right, well, a great day of birding. Any day you see golden eagles or rough-legged hawks is a good day of birding to me. And the weather was fairly pleasant and the conversation was good. I got to meet some more local birders today. So nice to be getting some more visitors now that the weather isn't so cold and windy. And I'm sure I'll meet many more of you in the coming days and weeks. Hope you can make it out sometime soon to Derby Hill. The count goes until the end of May, so you have plenty of time and it's only going to keep getting better. From Lyco Birds, this is David Brown. Thanks for watching.